This is a short video describing the fix for the trigger on the Hoover Steam Vac failing. That's this part here. While your surge button still works, that's this button here. And this pin here was my solution to the broken part, which is in here. It seems like a pretty obvious part to fail, especially considering how weak they made that part. Almost as if it's designed to fail or something. But nevertheless, the fix is just simply to put a pin through the whole assembly there to allow it to pivot, so you can see my holes that I drilled here on both sides here of this little plastic part. And I did remove this plastic part from the assembly here, which is pretty easy to do. There's just a little part it snaps into right in there. And then we drilled, I started with a couple pilot holes to see where I was, and then I did my final drill with a really tiny drill bit through. It went through all of it and out the other side. And then I got a bigger drill bit. I settled on 64 thousandths of an inch for size, because I happen to have a pin that was about that size, and so you can see how the pin fits through there, and then that same pin goes in one side of the housing and out the other. I drilled the housing to 59 thousandths. The pin itself is 64 thousandths, and I drilled this part 64 thousandths after I accidentally broke a tiny bit of the part there by trying to fit it through at 59 thousandths. So this part doesn't need to be tight for this piece, so if it's even bigger it wouldn't matter. Bigger than your pin, that is, by very much. But this part should be tight here on the ABS plastic piece here. That should be the hole. Drill the hole slightly smaller by a few thousandths than the pin. That way it fits snug, and it won't come out. And I've already tested mine, and it works. Has done the trick marvelously. One of the ways you can tell if this is the part that's broken is if this no longer squirts water when you're pulling it. But this one, the surge button, still works because it's an independent mechanism. And what it is it's these two little pushers. One's the surge and one's the normal, and you can tell if yours is broken because you can pull this part off pretty easily, and see here, and you can pull the trigger, and if it doesn't push the plunger down very far, see, it should move at least, looks like just over half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch when you push the surge, and that part works properly. But when this part doesn't work properly, it only moves maybe 1/8 of an inch if that part is broken. Alright, a note on reassembly. You have to get the trigger part to actually shift upwards, otherwise it won't reassemble properly. So while you're closing it here, you just lift the trigger part up, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so there, it's up, and if you pull out on this little part, the part should be in the right position for you to put your pin in at this point.